The first time it happened, I thought I was dying. I woke up to the familiar outlines of my bedroom, the glow from the streetlight through my curtains, the ticking of the old clock on my wall. But something felt horribly wrong. I tried to move, but my body wouldn't respond. It wasn't like being tired or stiff. It was as if my brain and body were no longer connected. I tried to lift my hand, blink harder, even twitch my fingers. Nothing. The only thing I could move were my eyes, darting frantically around the room. At first, I told myself it was just a dream. But then I saw him. In the corner near my closet, a dark shape seemed to be standing there. Not quite solid, but darker than the shadows around it. My heart was racing, but my body was still frozen. The figure didn't move, didn't breathe, just watched. I wanted to scream, but no sound came out. It felt like something heavy was pressing down on my chest, like invisible hands were holding me down. My lungs burned. I tried to take a deep breath, but I could barely manage small gasps through my nose. Seconds stretched into minutes. The shadow didn't move closer, but it didn't fade either. It just stayed there, and I could feel its attention on me, like it was aware that I couldn't fight back. I tried focusing on my breathing, remembering something I'd read once about sleep paralysis. If you stay calm, it passes faster. So I forced myself to breathe, slow and shallow, until suddenly, the weight lifted. I could move my fingers again, then my arms. When I sat up, the corner was empty. I turned on every light in the room. The clock read 3:12 a.m. I didn't sleep the rest of the night. When morning came, I convinced myself it had just been a nightmare. Maybe stress, maybe exhaustion. But when it happened again 2 nights later, in the exact same way, I realized it wasn't a coincidence. Every time it happened, I'd wake up in the same position, see the same dark shape in the corner. I tried changing the layout of my room, thinking maybe the shadows were tricking my brain. But even after moving the furniture, the figure always appeared. Not where the closet had been, but in that same corner of the room. It's been 6 months now. I've read everything I can about sleep paralysis. The science, the triggers, the brain chemistry. I know rationally it's a hallucination caused by REM atonia. But even knowing that doesn't make it easier, because every night when I go to sleep, I leave the lamp on, and when I wake up frozen, I can still see the man standing there in the corner, just watching, waiting for me to open my eyes. For years, I thought I had a heart problem. The first time it happened, I was 17. I woke up unable to breathe. My eyes were open. I could see the ceiling fan spinning above me, but I couldn't move. My chest felt like something was sitting on it, pressing down hard. It wasn't pain exactly, more like a crushing pressure that stole every bit of air I tried to take in. My instinct was to panic, to thrash, but nothing happened. My body ignored every desperate signal my brain sent it. The worst part was the sound. It wasn't loud, but I could hear faint whispering, like someone standing right beside me, murmuring words I couldn't understand. I could feel warm air near my ear, even though I couldn't turn my head. I tried to tell myself I was dreaming, but the texture of my blanket, the smell of my pillow, the hum of the refrigerator from the kitchen, it all felt too real. I don't know how long it lasted. It might have been a minute or 10. When I finally snapped awake, I gasped so hard, I nearly fell off the bed. I told my mom the next morning, and she said it sounded like sleep paralysis. She'd had it once when she was younger. I brushed it off, figuring it was a one-time thing. But it kept happening. Always the same. I'd wake up, paralyzed, chest heavy, whispers close by. As I got older, I started keeping a sleep diary. I noticed it happened most often when I was stressed or overtired. Sometimes the paralysis came with hallucinations. Once I thought I saw a shadow leaning over me. Another time, I was convinced someone was sitting at the foot of my bed. Every time I'd wake up gasping, heart pounding, drenched in sweat. I talked to a doctor eventually. He explained how the body sometimes wakes before the mind fully disconnects from REM sleep, leaving you trapped between dreaming and waking. The wait is your brain misreading its own paralysis. The whispers, auditory hallucinations. All of it, he said, was explainable. logical. And yet logic doesn't help when you're in it. Even now, at 34, it still happens, though less often. Every few months I'll wake up, see the ceiling fan, feel that old familiar weight. I remind myself over and over, this isn't real. This will pass. And eventually, it does. But there's one detail I've never told anyone. The whispers stopped years ago, except for the last episode. This time, I heard them clearly, not murmuring, but saying a single word over and over. My name. I've dealt with insomnia most of my life. My mind never stops running, replaying conversations, worrying about deadlines, inventing problems that don't exist. So when I started experiencing sleep paralysis in college, I thought it was just another symptom of stress. The first few times were short, maybe 10 seconds of being awake but unable to move. Uncomfortable, but not terrifying. That changed one night during my final year. I'd been up studying until nearly 2 a.m. When I finally drifted off, I remember dreaming of walking through fog. Dense, colorless, endless. Then I woke up suddenly, eyes open, staring at the ceiling. I knew instantly that I couldn't move. My arms were pinned, my breathing shallow. I tried to shift my head, but even that was impossible. The silence in the room was absolute. Then I saw them, 2 small reflections near the end of my bed, like light catching on glass. At first, I thought it was my phone charging light, but the eyes blinked. They were round, steady, and low to the ground, as if someone, or something, was crouched there, watching. My heart hammered. I tried to scream, to move, to do anything, but the paralysis held me down. The eyes stayed perfectly still, just observing. Every second stretched endlessly. Then slowly, they began to rise, too tall, too deliberate to be human. I forced my focus on moving a finger, just one finger. That's what an article online had said. If you can move a small muscle, the paralysis will break. I concentrated so hard, I thought my skull would split. And suddenly, I jerked awake with a gasp. The room was empty. The air was still. My phone was unplugged, lying on the floor where it had fallen earlier that night. I told myself it had been a dream layered inside paralysis, the mind creating meaning from fear. But after that, I couldn't sleep in that room again without a light on. I started staying up until exhaustion forced me to collapse. The paralysis happened again a few times, but never with the eyes. Still, whenever it happens, I find myself staring toward the end of the bed, terrified of what I might see if my brain decides to play tricks on me again. It's been 3 years now, and I've learned to manage it. Sleep schedules, meditation, no caffeine. But even when everything feels under control, I sometimes wake in the middle of the night, paralyzed again, staring into the dark. I tell myself it's all in my head. It's always been in my head. Yet part of me can't shake the feeling that something in that fog I saw years ago never really left. It's just waiting for me to close my eyes again. They say sleep is when the mind resets, when consciousness lets go, and the body drifts into quiet repair. But for some of us, that border between waking and dreaming isn't a soft line. It's a trap door. You fall into it with your eyes open, aware of everything, able to see, but unable to move, to scream, to escape the weight pressing down on your chest. Science calls it REM atonia, a harmless malfunction of the body's natural sleep cycle. But anyone who's felt it knows there's nothing harmless about being trapped inside your own body, seeing things that feel too real to dismiss. In that half-world, every shadow looks alive, every sound becomes a whisper with intention, and time stretches into forever. Most people wake up and tell themselves it was just a dream. Maybe it was. But maybe, just maybe, there's something that waits for us in that fragile gap, a place where the body sleeps, but the mind is awake enough to see. Some call it a hallucination, others call it a haunting. So tonight, when you turn off your lights and close your eyes, remember this. Sleep is supposed to bring rest. But for some, it brings the longest seconds of their lives, when the body lies still and the mind wakes to the things that come to watch.